Ladies and gentlemen, you heard this here first. Almost certainly you heard this here first. Alec Baldwin actually claims that he did not pull the trigger on the firearm. He did not pull the hammer back. He did not fire the weapon. He claims that he did not fire the Colt 45. That it spontaneously, because it's a sentient being, because it has a mind of its own, and it was possessed by, a ghost that, like poltergeist or something, it actually fired itself. He would never, you'll hear this in about a minute or two. I'll just, in my high-tech setup, you'll hear it right now just via audio. This, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly what I said last night. I told you this would happen. George Stephanopoulos is giving Alec Baldwin enough room to completely obliterate any defense he has in court, but also, the main purpose, George Stephanopoulos and ABC News, because Alec Baldwin is such a good, morally superior liberal Hollywood Democrat, they're trying to revamp, reshape his image. It's all about public relations. He's an actor. So you'll see in the interview, I think it's tomorrow. I think the interview's tomorrow. But yeah, so tomorrow or this evening, either this evening at 8 p.m. Eastern on ABC. Might be this evening. So, no, tomorrow it says 8 p.m. Eastern. So this is a tweet from ABC News, asked by George Stephanopoulos how a real bullet got on the Rust set. Alec Baldwin says, "I have no idea. Someone put a live bullet in a gun, a bullet that wasn't even supposed to be on the property. He didn't check himself. The scene did not call for him to fire the weapon. He did aim, or he did point in the direction of the cinematographer. The cinematographer was, and I say this with all due respect, Alec Baldwin is lying. The cinematographer was hit in the midsection in the stomach. The bullet then landed in the shoulder of the director standing behind the cinematographer, looking over her shoulder. So you tell me if Einstein or Stephen Hawking or, a physicist can explain how you have Isaac Newton, how you have a projectile going into the midsection or stomach of a cinematographer and then somehow finding its way to land in the shoulder of the director standing behind her, actually standing over her shoulder, according to reports. Then you had two live rounds fired prior to the fatal tragedy by the stunt double. The man's lying here, and I don't know what he's trying to do, but obviously, I told you last night, George Stephanopoulos is going to give him every opportunity to try to, in a public relations sense, revamp his entire image. So here's the, hopefully you can hear it, but here's the, here's the audio.
Come to terms with that. It wasn't in the script for the trigger to be pulled.
Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger.
So you never pulled the trigger?
No. I would never point a gun at anyone and pull a trigger at them. Never.
What did you think?
So, I don't know if you can hear that. Sorry. It's my high-tech setup. I would never point a gun at anyone and pull the trigger. He did, though. So, what happened? Was he then possessed by somebody, or did a ghost pick up the firearm and point it? So he did. That's been reported by everyone and even is on the affidavit sent to the police. He's the one who had the firearm. He's the one being sued by Gloria Allred, the script supervisor's attorney and the attorneys for the chief of lighting. He's the one who's almost certainly going to be sued by the family of the cinematographer. He's the one who will very likely get criminal charges. So now, in typical, first of all, I've been doing these segments on his wife's Instagram here and there. I didn't want to, but it's very bizarre that they can't even take a month off of social media. A month off of social media. You have a family that's mourning, and they're, posting Halloween pictures. Completely oblivious to the fact that Alec Baldwin accidentally ended someone's life. But now he's saying what has been reported never took place. Now, obviously you can hear, hopefully it came out well, probably didn't, but you know what, it is what it is. So, you can hear the George Stephanopoulos, or his answer to George Stephanopoulos. So you can hear it. Hopefully you can hear it. He says, "I did not pull the trigger." That makes no sense at all. This is beyond comprehension. Absolutely beyond comprehension. By the way, I'll be doing a segment, I think Don Lemon's the next to go, on CNN, and I'll explain why. That'll probably be next segment. So I was telling you Chris Cuomo is out the door. I was telling you he was fired from CNN about 2 months prior to this. Okay. And now he's gone. Indefinite suspension, which means he's fired. Before the 2 lawsuits, I said the scene did not require Alec Baldwin to fire the weapon. He did anyway. He's saying that he didn't do so. I would never point at. He did point the firearm. That's how the projectile got to 2 people. He might have even fired twice. Do we know if the police actually have the firearm? Because the armorer's attorneys have stated that evidence was tampered with prior to police arriving on the set. So the armorer's attorneys have already stated that Alec Baldwin and producers are trying to set up the armorer. But the issue of the live round, there were already reports, and you'll see below in the description section. The description section of every one of my segments is meticulous. There were already reports of the stunt double firing twice. There was a safety walkout, and this is why George Stephanopoulos, ABC News, The Washington Post, The New York Times, MSNBC, CNN, The New Yorker, The Atlantic, New York Magazine, BuzzFeed, The Daily Beast, Rolling Stone, Mother Jones, The Nation. This is a public relations monstrosity, pushing one side, and still half the country doesn't listen to them. This makes no sense, and it says Democratic Party on his Wikipedia page, which was very bizarre. Like, how is that who you are as a human being, a political party? But anyway, it is. And George Stephanopoulos and ABC News, they're giving him a forum, an opportunity to try to rewrite history or to try to alter and bend reality. To try to deceive the entire planet pertaining to an accidental tragedy that I'm just going to say accidental. If you wanted to go out on a limb on some kind of theory saying it was on deliberate, someone could say that. but I'm going to say it was an accidental tragedy that was done because, in part, because the set was so unsafe, there was actually a protest of camera crew. A walkout of camera crew. There was a walkout of camera crew. Okay? An actual walkout. And George Stephanopoulos, nobody even brings that up. How is that not brought up? The cinematographer loses her life, and there's a protest of camera crew right before. And how do you deny firing the weapon yourself? Or pulling the trigger? Or how do you deny firing the weapon yourself? How is that even possible? He's essentially denied firing the Colt 45. So, and he has these crocodile tears, and I'll say that. The man's an actor. He didn't take time off of social media. He just wants to get out of criminal charges. He ended someone's life. There was a protest of camera crew, and I don't believe his emotions are real. I think that he's probably crying more so for himself than for any loss of life. Anyone's lost life. The cinematographer's lost life. And so you can watch, I'll be watching, and I know you will, the interview. You can see the link to the interview on the People magazine article below. Ladies and gentlemen, it's just taken a very bizarre turn. I mean, this is almost like an Alfred Hitchcock movie, or a Twilight Zone, episode. This is going to hurt him. You cannot say that. You can't say, "Well, I didn't fire the weapon," or "It didn't. I would never point it." You did point at somebody. You did. That's how they were. One was injured and one lost her life. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. Very bizarre. And when the full interview comes out, we'll talk about it. Hit subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel below. My Patreon is below if you want to support my work. And read my article in the Federalist on the upcoming stock market crash. Thank you.